I've uploaded a decent amount of FlyHaven content to my YouTube channel. You may have also noticed that I've been uploading at all recently, compared to my former daily schedule. While I am pleased to announce that I'm no longer a part of the FlyHaven management team. This will be a first and one-of-a-kind documentary detailing the events and how equipped the FlyHaven management team is. Let's begin. Throughout my time of being a part of management, I encountered many figures including Jokfu, Vibes, Popletta, and Stockman. The full list of present management members is Akil, Brandon, Viper, Aiden, Sanjit, Noah, and Jay. I'll detail my perspective on each member that was present for the entirety of the time I worked with FlyHaven. Akil. Honestly, the best person and part of management, by far. Unlike other management members, his decisions weren't based on bias, and he solely went with the right decision and took the proper approach almost all the time. Some management members thought that he was biased towards me, however, there were times where he got on me about doing certain things. Akil is an active and talented developer, contributing significantly to the development quality of FlyHaven. The only negative about Akil is the management team he hired is awful. I'll be going into farther details regarding that later. Brandon. I didn't really enjoy working with him at all. Every time Brandon was around, it was like, you have to do this or you're fired /sanctioned/suspended. There weren't occasions where Brandon would even do as much as have a laugh or an enjoyable conversation. I always felt oppressed from displaying my personality when he was present, out of fear of getting issued punishment. This worsened over time, especially after the resignations of Vibes and Jay. Viper. If I had to rate the second best person to work with, it would be Viper. Besides Akil, he was the nicest out of the bunch. He was understanding and often put himself into the perspective of others. However, there were instances where he did side with the board out of bias. Aiden. A complete, utter dirtbag. He's fully unqualified for being a board at FlyHaven and undeserving of it. He acts like a complete prick most of the time, especially he acts like a complete prick most of the time, and it's tiresome, especially since he's technically superior to me. However, I never considered Aiden superior to me based on the way he acted. If anything, I thought of him more as someone ranked lower than me. I didn't tolerate the shit he always gave me. Now that I have given you my thoughts on each management member, let's set the clock back to the day I was recruited to the FlyHaven flight crew head of department trial process. I passed my FlyHaven flight crew head of department application as of December 2nd of 2020. I proceeded through the internet process, practical tests, and the HOD trial against 3 other candidates. I made it through the interview along with one other. The other person who passed the interview had to resign due to personal reasoning, and I went on to pass my practical examination. I was hired and recruited to the management team of FlyHaven Airways as of December 21st of 2020. Little did I know, being a part of the management team at FlyHaven would have its ups and downs, and would lead to what I would define as a frankly awful experience. The first 2 months of being a part of FlyHaven management were honestly great. I quickly adapted to the management team, got to know members, and most of all, being able to handle the flight crew department as best as I could. Then, we moved on to what I would describe the initial downfall of FlyHaven management. The deputy department head of the flight crew department, my colleague, resigned from the FlyHaven management team on the 27th of February, along with the deputy department head of cabin crew, after another conflict established within the management team. Before this point, there were conflicts, including a heated debate regarding raising ticket prices, in which I voted not to and made a whole objection document to the change, and other unnecessary debates, which turned into a civil war in the management team, pretty much. To put it short, I would describe the management team as overdramatic and taking situations which should be calmly and formally addressed and proposing them in a heated and unnecessary manner. After the resignation of my colleague, Popletta, this was the strong point in the fall of FlyHaven management. However, instead of getting on me all the time, it was mainly a matter of addressing Vibes. The management team kept critiquing every single thing he did, leading him to resign. Even after the resignation, gossip pursued, with Aiden commenting, "That's because Vibes couldn't do his job," in DMs. At this point, the management team was myself, Jay, Aiden, Viper, Brandon, and Akil. This was basically a moment for the management team to start going against me. They were constantly frustrated with me, telling me how to do certain things and more. Jay and I had conflict issued with each other, however we eventually resolved the complication and no further issues pursued with us. Jay resigned 3 days after this, leaving it to only myself and board and hire in the management team, where the main problems occurred. I was put into a position after Vives and Jay resigned of being the only person a part of the management team that wasn't a board of directors or a hire. This developed gossip about me in the board chat, and board members would always side with each other out of bias. The only person who didn't partake in this was the owner, Akil. Other events that occurred were me issuing a 1900 character statement to the management team, a 615 word document, letters, and more, trying to get them to learn to respect me and conveying them the impression they've left me. I'll now read out the 1900 character statement issued by myself. Dear management, I'd like to convey to you how I feel and how you make me feel. This is purely from my heart and may appear blunt to you, however this is the sad truth of how I feel in the management team. I feel oppressed. I feel victimized. I feel bullied. The way that all of you have been treating me has made me feel this way. It feels like it's me versus the entire management team. My opinion has no value. My voice always gets shut down due to others abusing their superiority on me. I'm constantly threatened with sanctions/suspensions. I'm always placed as the attacker, when really, I'm the victim. The management team is full of bright, talented people. The way you treat me has been awful and I can no longer just let it happen. A portion of the time we get along perfectly, but most of the time it isn't that great. The problem has only been getting worse as the days go by and the clock ticks. I'm the lowest ranked person on the management team, the weak one. Board members and hire have always sided with each other and never sided with me. The light has been turned off on me every time I speak up for myself. I know I'm not your favorite person. I know you gossip about me behind my back. It's evident based on the way you treat me, how you side with each other. You always side with each other, especially because you have your own private group chat, board chat. It's easy for you to do this and to target me. I know you don't have negative intentions, but nevertheless of what you're trying to do, that's how I feel. My course of action here may vary. I may do nothing and see how this letter goes. I may go on Aloha, or I may resign. All I'm asking is for you to treat me better, develop more respect for me, and to not abuse your superiority on me. I've done so much for this airline, and the return on my care/dedication towards FlyHaven I'm getting is disgraceful. Thank you for your time. Best regards, Auntie. I also managed to acquire a flight hosting license at FlyHaven as of March 20th of 2021. From then on, I would go on to host 12 flights by the end of the month. I was a proactive flight host who simply enjoyed hosting a lot. I recorded and uploaded most of the flights I hosted to YouTube. I covered for the management team numerous times with these 12 flights, and hosted one of the best FlyHaven flights ever, aka the April Fool's one, and contributed a lot to the airline. Following the letter I distributed, arguments between Aiden and myself pursued limitlessly. It was then I gained the realization of how frankly awful Aiden was. There were ridiculous topics we'd argue about for 10 minutes straight, whether flight hosting was a department or a sector, for example. We've attempted to issue apologies to each other via DMs. However, we were unable to develop a solution that firmly worked. Despite our attempts, we were still prompting each other with ridiculous arguments constantly. I eventually outlashed Aiden out of fury, and I was overall tired with the constant arguments pursuing between us. The context to the situation was I was debating with other flight hosts regarding a Discord system or using a Trello system for scheduling flights. Aiden came on and decided to try and silence me by saying his iconic "enough" and accused me of arguing with the flight hosts. The message I left him reads below.
Okay, so since Auntie can't do voiceovers, I'm gonna just do this voiceover for him. It says here is, I don't care what you said. You need to stop freaking out on me all the time. Just because I'm debating doesn't earn you the right to threaten me and be a dickhead to me for no reason. This sounds so stupid. Do you know how pissed you can get when someone, one of your superiors for Christ's sake, is basically bullying you? He's telling me I can't debate. That in itself is absurd, but combining all of our previous experiences is absolutely disgraceful. I'm tired of it and will not hesitate to speak up for myself, whether it means cussing him out or not. I've had enough of this already. I haven't outlashed at him like this before, but this time he crossed the line. I'm not going to just pussy out and act like everything is fine. I'll express myself however I feel. Okay, moving on.
After I made this statement, the arguments between Ada and I finally ceased, for the most part. I had solved the problem, and tensions between Aiden and I were lowering. While we were not arguing on a daily basis anymore, tensions were still ongoing between us. What came next, however, was even worse. Brandon, the chief executive officer of FlyHaven, decided to hire two former high ranks, Noah and Sanjit. I had no problem with Noah, as he appealed to me as a generally nice person. However, the contrary applied to Sanjit. Sanjit is known in aviation as a person who's the Gordon Ramsay of flying, and was now issued as my deputy department head. I had a few concerns with this. Number one, I was putting on my deputy head of department to become Urban Jew, a hard-working and dedicated flight crew supervisor who was only rank away from achieving deputy department head. However, Brandon then snatches it right out of his hands by instead automatically ranking someone who has displayed no effort at the airline yet and was essentially free ranked on the basis that he works at American Airlines and was a former FlyHaven management member. I would have appreciated to be contacted by Brandon asking me if I wanted Sanjit as my deputy head of department before hiring him to work with me. But of course, since this is FlyHaven management, I received no notice whatsoever. I worked with Sanjit for about a week. Throughout that week, he made no effort whatsoever to coordinate with me, made no announcements to flight crew, and was basically a statue in the flight crew server. Useless. The only thing he managed to accomplish was insert Urban Jew in the flight crew server. I added all of the members of the flight crew department to a group chat to gather their thoughts on Sanjit. I did a vote, and every member of the flight crew department besides one voted against him being a deputy department head. I presented this to Brandon, who did nothing about it. Later that evening, I received a termination letter from Aiden, reading the following. Dear AviaAnty, as of 4/9/2021, you have unfortunately been terminated from the FlyHaven staff team. This has been a decision brought up by senior management that the rest of management approved of, and this is a final and done decision. The reasons for your termination is due to poor conduct as a high rank. We've had multiple issues with you in the past on your behavior, and it happened again today. Senior management and the board have given you too many chances, and we're now at our limit. In addition, you've been spotted being unprofessional a few times in the past, which was also brought up in the management discussion today. Third, your flying at many of our flights has not been up to standard/quality and regulations we expect, as said by senior management and a few other members of management, not saying any names. I'd like to thank you for being a part of the staff team and FlyHaven management for the past 4.5 months. Truly cared about your job here. However, things have come to an end, and with the way you've been reacting for the past few weeks already, it's just become unacceptable and too much. You may have a few questions, I suppose. At the moment, the Chief Executive Officer, aka Brandon, has made the decision that Sanjit 141 will take over as the interim head of department for flight crew, and I will assist Sanjit. The entire high-rank team, in fact, will help each other out to ensure that the flight crew keeps its standards and improves anywhere that needs to be addressed. Again, thank you. I'd like to write a note, however, please do not react to this termination with a huge riot or plan with your flight crew, as that will not help and will decrease your chances of joining the staff team again in the future. I know you may be sad from this, however, do not let you turn rogue. Thank you, Aiden, FlyHaven Management. I will now be addressing the lies and false remarks forged against me without reason. Poor conduct is a high rank. This statement is ironic, especially considering Aiden sent it. The conduct he displays is awful. There's been instances where I have acted unacceptable, however, each instance I apologize for my actions and the next day, resolutions were required. I haven't abused, I haven't done anything of that sort. Spotted being unprofessional. The only instances where I haven't been professional were when the server was locked and passengers weren't present. As soon as the server was unlocked, I immediately acted professional, and any unprofessional statements were addressed via NPM admins or staff chat. NPM admins is an end message which only staff are able to view. Flying at our flights hasn't been up to standards. This is a complete and utter nonsense and a forged lie, demonstrating how FlyHaven management acts. My flying has been up to par and exceeding other staff on multiple occasions. My only downfall previously was occasionally hard landings. However, being committed to improve, I quickly improved these without about 20 minutes of practice. The CEO made a decision that Sanjit141 will take over as interim head of department for flight crew, and I will assist Sanjit. The chief executive officer decided to make the exact person that early in the day alerted him my staff didn't want as their deputy head of department has now been promoted to a more superior role. That is completely absurd. It shows how FlyHaven management has their own agenda and are unwilling to honor the opinion and perspective of my staff team. Nor are they honoring the several requests I made to have Urban as my deputy head of department, and rather giving this to Aiden, the last person I want to serve as my flight crew deputy head of department. Following this, there was farther gossip about me going on the staff server, of course, from Aiden, the person who I happen to have tensions with. Aiden made the remark, "If y'all want to know why Auntie was terminated, I'll explain myself. Terrible conduct is a high rank. He, in failure to set a good example for the rest of the staff team. Almost every single day he triggers an argument for the smallest things, and even changes I make to my own department. He tries to tell me what to do like he's my superior, even though I'm 2 ranks higher than him. Absolutely zero communication on flights. Literally no talk or anything in the voice channel, resulting in me or 1 or 2 staff to be able to talk in the voice channel as if I am the flight host. In addition, he keeps trying to change everything himself and not follow curriculum, and not do debrief until 4+ hours later multiple times, which is unacceptable. His flying standards are not up to expectations, considering that he was the head of department for flight crew, and some of his low ranks are actually better at flying than him realistically. Staff disrespect. Even in front of passengers, he used the N command over and over again, screaming at staff in public game chat for everyone else to see, which did get screenshotted. That's the final and full truth. If you think we fired Auntie for no reason, that's false. I'll be addressing the forgery and new lies established by Aiden. I already addressed the bogus statements featured in reason number 1 of Aiden's claim early in the video. Statement number 2. Absolutely zero communication at flights. Simply because I didn't use a microphone most of the time didn't mean I didn't communicate. I communicated through multiple forms which were repeatedly shut down by management, including using a text-to-speech bot, which the management voted to remove. NPM, which Brandon told me not to use. I could communicate, however management was preventing me from doing so. The only reason I didn't use a microphone often was my parents aren't fond of me talking to people online who I don't know in real life. I have only used a microphone on flights before, however, this was not very often. If it's a requirement to talk in the voice channel, then FlyHaven might as well terminate 3/4 of the staff team. Not doing debrief until 4+ hours later, multiple times, which is unacceptable. I've only done this once or twice, plus, something as invaluable as a debrief isn't something that should be needed efficiently. I understand needing it in a time frame of 24 hours, however you're going to complain about 4 hours? Nonsense. Not to mention I hosted 12 flights last month, covering for the management team multiple times, and this is the way I get respect, and his flying standards are not up to expectations. I already addressed this earlier in the video. Staff disrespect. I've joked and had fun with staff, of course. That's because I didn't want to take my entire life seriously. I've already had my fair share of laughs, as well as I want to have my fair share of laughs, as well as not needing to be serious 24/7, 365. And I've already addressed using N, as I've never used N unprofessionally during unslocking and have only used NPM admins, preventing passengers from seeing it and evaluating the statement nonsense. I think I've been able to convey my message in this video vividly, providing the truth behind FlyHaven management team. The purpose of this video is not to expose FlyHaven, is what I would say. You see, shortly after my false termination, I received a permanent, indefinite ban from the FlyHaven server. Keep in mind at this point I was still an investor and had contributed funds to the airline, and they just decided to radically ban me. The reason for this ban was supposedly causing drama, stated by Viper and Aiden. I had apparently been causing drama by simply conversating on the server. The only rude statement from me really was me capturing a picture of an announcement saying the management team was a great environment and adding in, "Oh really" gif under it. However, based on everything that I summed up earlier in the document, I believe what I said was still justified and accurate, as in this case, they were the ones forging lies, again. However, this was hours earlier in the day prior to my ban. After I said the following things, I received a ban from the FlyHaven server. Technically, being terminated is a forced resignation. Actually, Urban was also terminated. They were going to resign soon anyways. This was because the topic at hand, the topic throughout the entire day, was my termination. Former management members such as Slockman and Popletta took notice of it, and that basically became the subject of the day. I had my fair share of statements, and all of them were kept within truth. I had never exaggerated or established any lies or falsehoods whatsoever. Regardless, they then banned me. From this point, I had received no reasoning whatsoever. Typically, airlines ban users via a bot such as Dino, which allows the user to see the reason they were banned. Because of this, and yeah, I'm not proud of it, I used one of my alts and a VPN and joined the FlyHaven server. If I could go in the past and change this decision, I would. However, that's simply impossible, and I have to live with it. I asked for the reason I was banned, and also to be unbanned on my main account. They told me the reason was drama and proceeded to ban my alt. I then started to rejoin on 2 alts which also got banned. Following this, I made a decision to DM the owner of FlyHaven, Akil, who I had previously spoken highly about. I approached him in a professional manner requesting the reason for my ban. He then responded referring me to Brandon and showing a rule in the server against causing drama or constructing arguments in the server. First off, I wasn't causing any drama. It was simply the topic at hand. I'd even bring it up. Other management members, including Brandon, Viper, Aiden, and Akil, had taken part in the discussion as well, showing the bias they had against me. The management members involved did not get any repercussions received at all. Secondly, I received a DM from Viper saying, quote-unquote, "We clearly did not want you a part of FH, ... This is evidently showing the bias they have against me. They don't want me a part of FlyHaven because the bias they developed against me is immense, absurd, and out of control." To sum up the FlyHaven ban, it was false. However, little did I know that the FlyHaven ban would be the least of my worries, and would circle back to a person I mentioned earlier, Jay, aka Karen's manager _J. As of 4/18/2021 at 6:41 a.m. EST, I received a document from the Chief Staff Officer at Qatar Airways, Mia, detailing a suspension exercise on me for 1 week on the basis of the FlyHaven ban. I will now read out the notice. Individual had been terminated from FlyHaven and then proceeded to tarnish relations between FlyHaven and Qatar Airways by continuously trying to access the FlyHaven communications server despite receiving a ban following multiple rule violations. A formal complaint was made to the Department of Staffing in regards to this and was processed. I already broken down the ban and how it was exercised under the basis of false information. However, no FlyHaven, being as petty as they are, decided to jeopardize my employment at Qatar on the basis of the false information by spreading lies to the senior management team to take action against me. It really shows how low FlyHaven is. Immediately after seeing this, I DM'd Brandon, who was my first guest and suspect for this circumstance. Following this, he noted that Jay was the one who was responsible for the suspension. I proceeded to send him a DM. I now have screenshots of the conversation on the screen for you to read. The too long didn't read version of this conversation is I confronted Jay regarding this, and he immediately started pulling excuses. It turned into a debate which he quickly lost, and then asked for me to stop DMing him once he ran out of excuses. So yes, after this all occurred, I've made a conclusion. The purpose of this video is to expose FlyHaven and all of their wrongdoings. They've gone too far at this point, and I can barely tolerate it anymore. It's frankly unbelievable how they turned out, especially since I trusted and believed in the airline and who it was run by in the beginning. It really shows how what we think are great airlines on Roblox nowadays really are. They have dark truths behind them, which none of us are fond of or ever even expected. Without further ado, it's now time to wrap up and conclude this video. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day.